And I know I had all the millions and I didn't even have a credit card. The dumbest. I was like the dumbest person ever. I used to just spend money on everything. Man, please.
Yeah.
Please. I'm going to open up an insurance, put 2-3 million in my insurance and borrow from that and put it back in.
Okay, so let's talk about how this strategy actually works and how you can potentially do the same thing. So what Waka Flocka is mainly talking about is permanent life insurance contracts. See, these can be used to create your own private capital operating system. Now, with this structure, you want to make sure that you're getting the minimum death benefit possible and then funding it up to the IRS limit. See, there are people who do $500 a month and some people do $200,000 a year. It really depends on your financial situation. Now, you also want to make sure that 80 to 90% of what you're putting into this is going towards the cash value, and that difference is going towards the cost of insurance. Now, let's take a look at the benefit of how this strategy actually works. One, you have protection. So from a death benefit standpoint, the funds get paid out to your family. That's generational wealth. You also have capital protection, which means any money you put into the contract will always be protected at all times, regardless of what happens in the market. Then you also have protection from creditors. That means that nobody can access the money in it except for you. Now, from a growth standpoint, you can see an average of 6 to 8% depending on what the market does that year. If the market does well, you're credited. If the market does poorly, you're not credited anything, but capital is also protected at all times from the downside of the market. Then you've got tax advantage. To keep it simple, it just means that your money grows in the contract, and they're provided that you access it the right way. You don't have to pay any taxes on the growth that you've accumulated inside of the contract. Then you've got privacy, which means that only you know what's going on inside of this contract. Nobody else does. Now, here's one of the most important parts of how the wealthy people use this: investment opportunities. So what they're able to do is they're able to leverage the money in this for other income producing assets. So for example, let's say you have $35,000 inside of this contract. You wanted to use that money for other businesses. Now you could access this money as a loan, let's say at a 5% rate. The company will hold the money as a collateral. So they will loan you their money while your money is still growing at 6 to 8% range. Now here's the catch. You can take that $35,000 and invest it into other investments or businesses where you can potentially see 10 to 15%. So while you're using their money to make money, your money is still growing at that rate of 6 to 8% on an annual basis. This is how the wealthy people leverage their life insurance contracts to continue to build wealth and also transfer wealth into the next generation. Now, comment the word system if you want to learn how this can work for you.